Hello, and welcome to another episode of Divorce Discussions. And there are always different things, I think, as a parent, whether you're going through a divorce or whether you're staying married or whether you are a single parent for any reason, is helping teens in particular, because that can be a really challenging age. Let's face it. It's challenging for us as parents. I think it's challenging for them as teens as well. So I have got an expert with me today. Annette Evans Wilson was a dedicated English teacher and inspired her students with the mantra, maybe I can't, but I will. And she has also dealt with overcoming some personal and societal challenges herself. And now she has retired from her teaching career and founded the U Life Skills Leadership Educational Foundation to help teens recognize their value and become future leaders. Her journey inspired her to become an authenticity coach, empowering others to embrace their true selves and reach their full potential. Annette, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here today.
Thank you. It's exciting to be here today. I raised my two boys as a single parent. And it was a challenge. It was a challenge. Just to give you an idea of how much of a challenge it was, imagine for a moment putting a dove in an eagle's nest. You can kind of envision that, right?
Right.
Well, that's kind of what it was like. The only difference was I was the dove and my boys were the eagles. And the reason I say that is because what I do now, I wish I had known then what I know now. And gradually I learned it and we did okay. But now what I do is with U Life Skills and Leadership Educational Foundation is it's so important to know yourself, to know who you are, to know your personality style, and to know the personality style of your teens. You got to know both of them. Not just them, but you both have to know who you are so that you can work together. And so that's a lot of what we do. If I had known more of what their personality style was and what my personality style was, I could have led differently.
Yes. Oh, I love this topic. I love this. What is there a particular test or system that you use for personality?
Absolutely. I use the Taking Flight with DiSC. Now, a lot of people they know what the DiSC profile is.
Right.
DISC.
Right.
Well, I'm an S, big deal, right? And my boys are Ds. So what? That doesn't really mean anything, except when you put a bird on it. Okay. Now, if you tell somebody that they are a dove, well, automatically we know what a dove is.
Right.
We know the personality style of a dove: peace, caring, thoughtfulness, somebody who's a do-gooder,
Right.
All that kind of stuff. We know that. Well, and an eagle, the D. Well, when you think about an eagle, what do you think about? Automatically,
Yeah.
automatically, you know that eagle's they're going to swoop down on their prey. You
Right.
know that they're going to go get it. You know they're going to get what they're after.
Right.
These
Now
are the
you
ones.
got me thinking, because I'm a DiSC trainer as well, and I use the Catalyst DiSC.
Ah,
So here's something that now I'm trying to think of. You got me thinking, what would the birds be? So if I was going to when I would put the I would put it a parrot.
that is it exactly.
Really?
It is a parrot. Yes, it is.
Okay. Now I'm kidding. But as for the C, oh my gosh, I don't, because it's conscientious and
Yes.
wanting to know the process and asking a lot of questions, a little resistant to change. I don't
Very,
know what is it in it?
very wise, asking lots
Oh,
of
an owl? An
questions. That
owl?
is it
Okay.
exactly. Now imagine this, okay, for a moment. I am a primary dove. I'm a dove owl, but I'm a primary dove. My husband is an owl.
Oh, okay.
He's a way primary. He's strongly an owl. He's got some dove in him too, but he's really an owl. Now, we get something that comes from Amazon that has to be put together. You're already imagining him opening that box.
Right.
And reading through
The
all
instructions.
And after he reads the instructions, he's lining up all of the pieces to make sure it matches the instructions. And I'm saying, well, why don't we just start putting it together, reading the instructions? Because, of course, I want the instructions read too.
Right.
But we can put it together while we're reading the instructions, right?
Right.
But I don't want to make him mad by saying so, because after all, I want peace and, all the good feels, right?
Right.
But he wants to line it all up. And then he'll read the instructions again.
Right. Right.
And by this time, I'm like just getting all, can't we just start? Well, over time, because I know that he is an owl and he needs to do that. I mean, he needs to. It's not just he's trying to get me frustrated,
right.
Although I used to think so. He needs to do that. And I need to have the peace and I need to take care of him and I need to take care of things. So I go into the kitchen and I make us a nice snack and I get everything all nice and ready to go, because by the time I've done all of that, he's gone through all the preliminary steps, the ones that make me frustrated.
Right.
And I take him to him. We have our nice little snack and now we're ready to get started.
Yeah. And that is, I'm just imagining if you understood your children's styles and you understood your style, how you could create those better better environments for both of you to be able to not get frustrated and upset. And yeah.
I loved the way you were doing this with your hands, because we use this all the time.
Oh, really? Okay.
What we have going on everywhere, think politics, we have this.
Right.
When it comes to teens and parents, we have this. That's what we have. Now we try to put, because they don't get along, what do? We put teens in conflict management.
Right.
We put everybody in conflict management. And we tell teens, well, you have to learn to do this. You have to learn to give in. You're a teen, they're a parent. You have to learn to give in. Well, what does that mean? Okay, so I have to learn to give in while my parents are still going like this.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Well, what have we just done? Have they really learned conflict management?
No, they
have learned nothing of the sort. They have their fist ready to go.
Yeah.
They are back here and they are ready to strike.
Yeah.
They haven't learned a thing. They've just learned how to hide it well.
Yeah.
Until they strike. And then we wonder what happened.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. That's all we've done. However, if we learn what to do, we learn how to handle each other. And it's not, I handle is the wrong word.
No, yeah, but I know what you mean.
How to work with each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
If the Democrats and the Republicans learned how to work with each other, if the eagles and the doves learned how to work with each other, if these personality styles learned how to work with each other, both of them, then instead of saying, it's even the old I agree to disagree. Right. No, we can't do that, because then we're still like this. And when you're like this, eventually, again, you become like this. So that's not even, you can't even do that. Okay. What you have to do is you have to learn to be like this.
Right.
You have to learn to say, what are the things that we can do? And how do I keep my authenticity while allowing you your authenticity?
Yeah, that's such a great, because kids get told so often, it's not important. What they say doesn't matter. How they want to do something doesn't matter. And that's that's not a good advice for anybody. I mean, it's not life advice. So I love this. I so love this idea. And I'm a big supporter of DiSC because, everybody's a little bit of everything, but we all have our dominant sides or our dominant patterns of behavior. And once you teach kids that DiSC model, I bet you they're able to find, if they run into peers or if they go try to get a job, or they are going to be able to read people and go, okay, there's a dove. If I'm an eagle, I need to be a little bit careful that I don't come in like in full bird of prey mode and just overwhelm somebody. I need to back off and encourage the dove to be a little more assertive. So I love this.
Well, let me tell you a story about that, about how that's working with my grandson. Now, my grandson is a dove, and he was placed in the nest of two eagles, my son and his mother. Now, my son and his mother are divorced, and he lives with his mother, who is an eagle, and she is an eagle. I mean, she is an eagle. And my grandson just was really struggling. His dad, my son, moved to Florida. We're in Southern California. And his mom really doesn't want to learn anything about that. She is what she is.
Right.
And so my grandson just, well, mom's so mean and she yells at me all the time. And she's, she is harsh. She's very, very harsh. She is the classic eagle.
Right.
Okay. And so I started teaching my grandson the skills that he needed to learn. Well, what if mommy doesn't learn this? And I said, it's okay. You accept her for who she is. You can only change yourself. You cannot change anybody else. But this is what a dove needs to do when they're working with an eagle.
Yeah.
And sometimes when an eagle is very loud and very harsh, they're not really being mean. They're just being eagles. So you need to figure out when an eagle is being an eagle.
Right.
And these are some of the things you look for. Yes, there were times that she was just being mean.
Right.
And he needed to recognize those times too.
Right. Right.
But what he found is that by knowing the difference, that a lot of what she did was different too. A lot of her behavior changed because his behavior changed.
Sure. But yes. And I think this kind of, when you get into the corporate world, because my training is done like at that corporate level, but it's the same basic problems. They've got a team that has to work together on a multi-billion-dollar project, and the dominant person is controlling everything, but doesn't have all the facts and doesn't care that they don't have all the facts. The conscientious person just wants to make sure all the facts are out there and we think about everything and consider all possible options. The S person just wants to, make sure that everything's moving along, there's harmony in the group, and people are getting recognized for what they're accomplishing. And the I person just wants everybody to be happy.
Yeah, let's all have a good time. Exactly.
And so it's understanding that those dynamics are going to follow you through life. What a gift to give to younger adults or teens. I mean, that's a true gift.
I would love to get this into high schools. Can you imagine a school where every student has taken this assessment, and in their CUME folder, you have this assessment and what to do with this student if they're having issues.
Right. Right.
And now you've got a teacher that doesn't get along with this kid. The teacher then goes to the principal and says, get this kid out of my class, can't stand him, can't work with him, don't know what to do with him. And the principal says, have you looked at his profile?
Right.
And the rule, everybody has already decided that they're going to try two things from the list before they come to the principal.
Right. Yep. Boy, would that be powerful, wouldn't it? And the thing is, I think the neat thing would be is if that's something that's talked about. I know we're getting a little off topic for parents, but I still think for parents to think about this. What if that was a conversation that was done in, say, middle school to high school level classroom, where at the very beginning of the year, everybody talked about what works well for them.
Absolutely.
How much. So I used to be a behavior consultant, and I used the functional analysis, where we started with what do we want the behavior, and then we chain it backwards. And if kids have an understanding of what is expected from them, and they see that the adults are playing by the same rules, a whole lot of that confrontation can just go away. And I think this would be such a beautiful program. But even if it's not used in the schools, if you're a parent struggling with the teen, even doing this as a parent, as a family, would be a powerful tool.
Right. Well, for any of your people that are watching, they can get a head start on this. All they need to do is send me an email at Annette, ANNETTE, at YOULSL.org. And then in the subject, put Potapalooza DiSC. Okay, Potapalooza DiSC, DISC. And I'm going to send them for free. It's a little 3-page, it's a mini disc. Okay, it's a mini disc.
Sure.
that they can fill out, and it'll kind of give them an idea of, are they an eagle, or are they a parrot, or are they a dove, or are they an owl? And they can do this with their teens too, and with their husband too.
Right.
And so they can kind of do everybody.
Yeah.
And find out what they all are, and then it has some little. And when you're working with this one, these are some of the ways to act. And if you're working with there, then these are some of the ways to act. And these are what push this one's buttons. And there's some little clues on what to do. And then to get to some of my actual programs, the website is the same. It's YOULSL.org. So after they've seen that, and they've maybe given it a little try to say, oh yeah, look, this really does work, and they can see what kinds of programs that I have.
And I want to throw out there that the DiSC, DISC, is what we're saying. DiSC is one of, I think, the most frequently used personality team building tools by large corporations. Yes. It's probably, I'm going to say, I dare say it's been more used than anything else. And, there's things like the Myers-Briggs, there's the EQI2, which I'm certified in that, and I love that. But having something like DiSC that's simple and it's so practical. And I like that you have those tips and ideas of how to deal with those people. And I love the bird idea, because everybody can remember those 4. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really cool.
As we say, it's sticky.
Yes, sticky. So, Annette, we got a couple more minutes, and I'm thrilled, or I'm really excited about this. What kind of feedback do you get from parents of teens after they've gone through the assessment and then done? I'm guessing there's some discussions they have with their kids and things like that in your programs. What kind of transformations do you see?
One of the biggest, maybe even the biggest transformation that I saw from one of my workshops was a young man who, I don't know if it was autism or Asperger's, very, very high functioning.
Right.
And he was being raised by his grandparents. And the particular workshop was for the teens and the parents, or the caregivers. And so we had all of them in the workshop together. And it was a 2-day workshop, 3 hours each day. Sometimes I do that, 6 hours in one day, but because he was in there, we opted for the 2 days to split it up. And so we had a couple, about 3 different families with the teens and the parents in there. And afterwards, I got a letter from them, and they were so excited because they said that whenever things went on, whenever they got frustrated, either he would remind them about things that they had learned, or he would remind himself about things that they had learned, but it kept coming up.
Yeah.
And it was something that kept coming up and really made a difference in how he was able to move forward in his behavior and in being able to really progress uh, socially.
Oh, that is, and I think the more that we normalize the fact that people have different ways of acting, and that doesn't make you good or bad, and it just making this like common language and common information out there, it can't do anything but help to build those bridges between teens and parents. And because they are very difficult years. I'm sure I was a horrible kid in my teens. I love my parents, but I just know I did dumb things. And I'm a total high DI all the way down the line. And so I know I did dumb things, but yeah, I wish there'd have been language that we could have talked about.
Well, I coined a new term for that. Teenitude.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. Teenitude is different from attitude. And if we will acknowledge our teens' teenitude, because that's when they're tweens and teens is when their brain starts acknowledging that they are different, that they
Right.
are themselves, that
Right.
they have their own identity. And that's when we as parents start saying, wait a minute, I didn't buy into this.
Right.
I liked the one you were before.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we start saying they have attitude. No, we start calling it attitude because we don't want the teenitude that they are becoming.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, because we don't like the teen that they're becoming, because they're becoming something else, we shove that aside. They become the attitude
Right.
because we don't allow for the teenitude.
Yeah.
And that attitude becomes a behavior problem.
Yeah. Annette, this has been absolutely fantastic. And I had no idea we were going to be DiSC buddies here.
I know. Isn't that fun?
No, I love this. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing this. And if you've already given us your website and the way to get hold of you, I will make sure that gets in the show notes. So people, please reach out to Annette, connect with her, find out more about her program. And Annette, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. This has been fun.
It certainly has. And thanks everybody for listening in, and check the next divorce discussions.